Charlemagne the God is essentially a radio personality on The Breakfast Club. And if you don't know what The Breakfast Club is, and if you've never heard of Charlemagne the God, essentially, The Breakfast Club is a radio station or a YouTube channel that essentially talks about modern day events or common events that happen on a day to day basis, mostly in the modern time. And essentially, Charlemagne the God is one of the DJ or disc jockeys on that broadcast. And his real name is Leonard Larry McLeavey. So in this video, we're going to present evidence to you. We're going to present testimony to you. And at the end, we're going to ask you to make a decision on a few things. First, we're going to ask you to determine whether or not Charlemagne the God is guilty of rape. Second, we're going to ask you if Charlemagne the God should be pursued for rape. And third and finally, we're going to ask you if the Me Too movement should be pursuing Charlemagne the God for rape. So when we talk about rape, one of the things I started off with is that I actually started off looking at some of the rape charges. Now, these aren't all the possible charges that could be filed against someone for rape, but these are some of the possible charges that I started off with, right? Based on the information I had at that time. And this is in the jurisdiction of South Carolina. And essentially, the first charge is first-degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor. And it occurs when there's a sexual penetration, however slight, with an object or body, intercourse, oral sex, or anal sex between a minor who is 10 years or younger and a defendant at any age. The offense is a felony, and the conviction can result in 25 years or more in prison without the possibility of parole. And then it essentially gives the criminal statute for that charge. Then we also have second degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor, and it occurs when there is sexual penetration, intercourse, oral sex, or anal sex between a minor who is between 11, 12, or 13 years old and a defendant of any age. It also includes penetration, intercourse, oral sex, or anal sex between 14 and 15-year-old minor. A defendant who is in a position of authority or older than the minor when the marital exemption described below does not apply. This offense is a felony and can incur up to 20 years in prison, and it gives the criminal code for that. And then finally, third degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor occurs when the defendant, who is 18 years or older, commits or attempts to commit lewd acts on a minor under age 16 years old. A lewd act includes sexual conduct meant to arouse or gratify the party's sexual desires. This offense is a felony, and the conviction can result in up to 15 years in prison. And again, the statute or the criminal code is actually provided. Now, I really wanted to start with the actual law or some of the laws to try to put everything into context. So what we're going to do now, we're going to read some of the documents that's surrounding this situation. Now, this all came about because Kwame actually came out on YouTube and he actually spoke out against Charlemagne, who was actually trying to drag his name through the mud, or allegedly, right? Before I get into this video too deep, let me actually explain how I came to make this video. A friend actually reached out to me and he was telling me about Kwame, and he was telling me about this online beef between Kwame and Charlemagne the God. And, of course, I'm a YouTube blogger and I was compelled to go and look up some of these videos. And what I found was that there was actually already some allegations against Charlemagne the God, and he didn't really seem to put a lot of effort into hiding it or a lot of effort into covering up. He simply gives his version of the story. And lo and behold, I found more videos where the alleged victim speaks, and I also found more videos where the mother of the alleged victim speaks. So that's the context of this video, and that's how this video came to be. So moving forward, what we have here is testimony from a rape victim, and we're going to get into this testimony. But first, let me just go ahead and just prepare you up front that this testimony or this statement is heavily redacted. So it's going to be difficult to kind of get through it all, but I just want to prepare you, the viewer, before we start. But let's just go ahead and start. Um, it basically starts off. Blank stated that Blank continuously told her during the assault who he was so she would remember who she was fucking. After the assault, Blank went to the bathroom and began screaming. Blank turned on the lights as she left the room. Other people began coming into the room asking Blank what happened. Blank continued screaming, punched a hole in the wall, and knocked over the television. When Rose spoke with Blank by telephone, Blank had already left the hospital. She stated that she was not assaulted to her knowledge because when she became aware of her surroundings, she was fully dressed. Blank stated she had been throwing up since after her second drink and someone took her upstairs, but she didn't believe she was assaulted. Blank stated that she went looking for her friend. Blank, when she heard her screaming and found her in the bedroom down the hall screaming, thrashing around uncontrollably. When Blank attempted to help Blank up, Blank began lashing out at her, yelling to her to leave her alone. Blank attempted to console Blank by telling her it was her, Blank, and it was going to be okay. Blank was able to help Blank put her cloths on, but could not find her shoes or bra. Blank and Blank left the villa and asked someone they saw outside if they could use their cell phone. Blank called Blank to Blank and attempted to give Blank directions to where they were so they could get some help. Blank called 911 and proceeded to tell Berkeley County Sheriff's Office the location she was received from. Blank's sexual assault kit was completed by nurse Nora Lee. The subject, known as Blank, Blank came to the sheriff's office stating that he had heard that there was an incident that involved his name in regards to a short stay and he wanted to clear his name. When Rowe questioned Blank about the identity, he stated his real name was Blank, and his radio name was Blank, is employed with 93.3 radio station. When Rowe asked Blank's involvement, he stated that he had supplied the money for the villa that was rented at the short stay, but Derek Major, his cousin, had reserved the room since you have to be in the military to get the villa at the short stay. Blank stated that he was not around the villa in question very much because there was several parties going on in the surrounding villas, and he spent most of his time around the other parties and left sometime around 10 p.m. Upon his return, he saw lots of cops and decided to leave, not knowing what the cops were doing out there. He said he thought it meant trouble of some kind. Blank stated that as we went to the villa in which Blank and Blank were in, he could hear the girls screaming and laughing and as they partied, having a good time. And he didn't think he should go inside because it sounded like trouble to him. Blank, and this is ineligible. I can't really understand what is written here. But anyway, writing a statement because he said he did not want anything written. Rowe asked Blank if he would be willing to give semen specimen at a later date, and he stated he would. Blank stated some other people at the party in the area were his cousins, Kente Palmer and Andre Ferguson. Blank stated he told them they needed to come in and talk to the sheriff's office to clear their name also. So that's one of the reports, as you can see, at the sheriff's office. From that, there comes a actual indictment, and we're just going to go ahead and get into that indictment really quickly. And it goes on to read that on between June 8th, 2001 and June 9th, 2001, a short stay villa, and it gives a villa number, Moncks Corner, South Carolina, located within the county, and state aforesaid the defendant, Leonard Larry McCleavely, also known as Charlemagne Tha God, did commit the offense of criminal sexual conduct with a minor, second degree, in violation of this statute of the South Carolina Code of Laws 1976 as amended, in that the defendant, who is a 22-year-old adult male, did willfully, unlawfully, and feloniously engage in penile vaginal intercourse with a 15-year-old female. Facts to be established, the aforesaid one. On the morning of June 9th, 2001, the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office was contacted by Jocelyn Reed, the mother of the minor victim, after she received a phone call advising her of a sexual assault that had occurred with her 15-year-old daughter. 2. The minor female transported by EMS to Somerville Medical Center for treatment of injuries sustained during the sexual assault. And 3. Affiant responded to Somerville Medical Center and obtained a verbal and or written statement from the minor female, which implicated the defendant in the sexual assault. And 4. Examinations conducted by Somerville Medical Center corroborated that a sexual assault had occurred. The affiant, through the investigation, was able to locate the incident location and confirm that this incident occurred in Berkeley County, all against the peace and dignity of the state. Right? So then it basically goes on and we see a rape kit. Now, I'm not trying to skew this thing against Charlemagne Tha God, because I want you guys to really make a decision here. But here's the result of a medical examination, a rape kit, right? We do know that there is evidence of a rape, but here is the DNA evidence, so to speak. And it basically shows you blood, no analysis performed; saliva, no analysis performed; smears, vaginal or rectal, no spermatoza identified; vaginal swab, no semen identified; oral swab, no semen identified; rectal swab, no semen identified; suspected semen, no semen identified. And then we go to the other page, and it essentially shows the fingernails scrapings, nothing of apparent serological evidentiary value; and suspect kit, blood, no analysis performed; saliva, no analysis performed. Now, again, I'm not trying to skew this thing against Charlemagne Tha God, because I want you guys to make the decision and leave the comments below. But one question, I'm going to ask you a question. Does this report, or do you think this report is an indication that, one, a rape never happened, or two, that maybe it's possible a rape happened, but Charlemagne Tha God is innocent because there's no DNA evidence? Now, again, I'm not trying to skew this thing, but I'm basically going to say that this rape report, or this DNA evidence, isn't conclusive. It doesn't say whether or not a person is guilty of rape, and it doesn't say whether or not a person is innocent of rape. And the reason I say that is because the reason no DNA was found is because you can see they didn't search for any blood, right? No analysis performed. They didn't search for any saliva. No analysis performed. And saliva could be a situation where, unless the person is spitting all over you, it would be pretty difficult to basically get saliva. And then blood, unless someone was bleeding, it would be pretty difficult for DNA to be found from that perspective. And the rest of it, the smears, vaginal, oral, and rectal, well, if the person was wearing a condom, then there would be no semen identified. So keep that in thought, and answer the questions. Let me know what you guys think. Does this DNA report conclusively say that there was no rape, or does this DNA evidence basically say whether or not a person is innocent or guilty? Comments below, let me know what you think. So now we're going to move on, and we're going to look at some evidence, and after looking at the evidence, we'll come back and we'll look at the solicitor Wilson's statement regarding the rape charges.
I remember a scenario in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I got this girl real drunk, and
that sentence sounds a little fishy. I got her drunk.
I didn't just get her drunk. I remember going. I went to the sex store and got Spanish Fly.
Oh, so you raped her?
Shut up. Spanish Fly. They sell it in the sex store. I'm telling the truth. They sell it in the Spanish store. I had to fucking.
They sell knives in the store too. You could put that to a girl's throat and have sex with it. That doesn't mean it's legal.
So I put the Spanish Fly in the E&J. We drinking the E&J and shit. So in my mind, I don't know if this shit really worked, but I felt like I got horny as a motherfucker too. Right? So she was drunk as shit, and we had sex and shit, and like a lot of my boys was trying to come in the room and fuck her. I'm like, nah, chill, like I can't. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna let you run a train on it. That's rape. Yeah. Okay, so right. So
it's just one-on-one. It ain't rape.
Yeah. So the next
trains are rape.
So the next morning she wakes up. And we talk about it, and she's like, "What happened?"
Oh shit.
Like, we had sex. She said, "Okay, well, I'm glad it was you." Then a couple days later, she's like, "Yo, are you sure I only had sex with you?" Because one of my stupid ass cousins was going around saying he fucked her, which he didn't. I know for a fact he didn't. I was there the whole time. Yeah. He did not fuck her.
Yeah.
He looked at her naked, but he didn't fuck her. Right? So I'm telling her, no, me and you just had sex. Nobody else did nothing. So it just was weird that she was like, "Well, I'm just glad it was you." You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, I'm like, yo, you could have been in a real bad situation if it was another motherfucker there.
That's a huge compliment, man. A girl just said, yo, at least you raped me.
I didn't rape her. I did not rape her.
Hey, if it was any of your cousins or friends, it would have been rape. But
I didn't rape her because me and her had every intention of having sex with each other.
So then why would you put the Spanish Fly?
I'm still a freaky motherfucker, but listen,
was she passed out while you fucked her?
Nah, she wasn't like, she was like one of those drunks where, listen, no, she was one of those drunks where like, she was one of those drunks where she was like, she wasn't coherent, but she was up. You know when your girl's just, like when you're blacked out, like that, don't know what the fuck's going on type shit. Like she was
awake and she was into it.
She was wasted. Yeah, she was.
Her eyes were not rolling in the back of her head.
No.
Okay. Was she snoring while you were?
It was just weird. It was just weird because while we was having sex, because one of my homeboys used to fuck her on the regular. Mm-hmm. Like when I say the regular, that was his girl. Like he hates me probably to this day.
Wait, so you fucked your friend's girl?
That was a piece of shit.
All right, so you're 32 years of age, you're a mother, you've got a career, and this is something that's been what? It's been weighing heavy on your heart over the years, or you feel that there's something that needs to be further discussed? What?
It's just something that I haven't quite been able to get over. I don't know if you ever get over anything like that, but as far as closure goes, I never really got that. After everything happened, I was 15 years old, and my mom, she really didn't want me to, speak against him in court. I guess she felt like after all had taken place, that would have been too much for me at that time. Mm-hmm. So we kind of moved away to Virginia, and, that was it. Mm-hmm. There was never any closure. I don't believe that he ever went to jail. According to the paperwork, I think he just got probation. Mm-hmm. So he never really was held responsible for what he did. And then shortly after, I started seeing him on TV and hearing more about him, and that just brung up all of these, old wounds that I had from the issue or the situation. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's just, I want people to know who he really is, for one. Mm-hmm. And for two, I just want closure in the whole situation. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's been over, 15 years now, and I'm still dealing with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to counseling for it. At one point, I was on medication. It's something that is with me to this day, and I really just want to kind of put it behind me, and it's hard to do that when you see this person on TV. He's everywhere.
Right. Okay, so Charlemagne took a plea with regards to this case, and it's behind him. You spoke about Charlemagne being on top of you. Is that your official statement, that Charlemagne was on top of you, penetrating you?
Yes.
Okay. And has he ever admitted through any part of that process that he did engage in sexual activity with you, or did he flat out deny that?
From what I was told, he said that it was consensual.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so your mother did go to court.
Yes, she went.
Okay. And,
She went, and my uncle went with her.
Okay, so you were a minor at the time, and you didn't feel it was necessary to go. And at the same time, this did not go to trial because he took the plea deal, yes?
Right, and it wasn't that I didn't feel it was necessary. I wanted to go, but my mother, she felt differently. She didn't want me there.
Right. Okay. You make reference in your statement that Charlemagne, he made Malika a drink. Did he make a drink for you as well?
He made both of us a drink, yes.
And it's your claim that the drink made you dizzy and it made you limp, made you pass out. What?
Well, okay, so Malika, she was drinking before I started drinking. She probably had a cup. I was just about finishing my cup. Before I finished my cup, she ended up just throwing up. So I went and got some towels for her, tried to wipe her off, and she was just sitting there like she was out of it, and he kept trying to give her more drinks. So I put my drink down. About maybe 10, 15 minutes after trying to help her and clean her up, I got up because I just wasn't feeling right. My head was just dizzy, and I just felt funny. I could see and I could hear, but I just didn't feel like myself.
Right.
So I got up, and when I got up, it's like I collapsed to the floor. Like I couldn't really move my legs or anything. It was weird.
Okay.
So I never felt anything like that before.
But at the same time, you were 15 years of age. You weren't supposed to be drinking. And I'm not saying that, you were wrong. Whoever was, in your presence, some type of guardian, they should not have been serving you alcohol.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay.
And that was the thing. I'm 15 years old, and I wasn't a drinker. I wasn't a partier or anything. But, me and Charlemagne, we had built a friendship. We were actually friends. You know what I mean? I trusted him. And when I got there, I felt a little uneasy because there was just so many people there that I didn't know. It was really more guys than girls. It was me, Malika, and maybe 2 other females there.
Okay.
And he kept trying to get me to drink. And I told him, I said, I don't want anything to drink. I didn't feel good. It was just too much going on for me at one time with all these strangers. And he said, you can trust me. Nothing's going to happen to you tonight. Just, have a drink. And so I said, okay. And he poured me a drink. In the kitchen, he was the only one back there. He came out with the drinks in his hand, and I took the drink from him.
Okay. Now, this happened in 2001 in South Carolina, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Was this a house party? Was this a party at a club, on a boat? What?
It was a beach party. But by the time we got there, he picked me up from my house. He picked up Malika and I from the house. On our way there, we made a few stops. We stopped at, I believe it was his parents' house, because I met his dad, and there was a couple of other family members in there. And we stayed there for a little while, left. Then we went to the gas station. By the time we got to the beach, it was dark. So it was really no pool party, because the way he described it, bring your bathing suits, is going to be like this outdoor pool party, fun in the sun type of thing. By the time we got there, it was dark, and it was just a whole bunch of people inside the house.
So now, after the sexual act took place, how did you then get home?
The ambulance was called. Someone called 911. There was someone who was downstairs, outside, actually. After everyone had left, Malika and I were able to pull ourselves together and help each other down the stairs, and we went outside and sat on the curb, and it was just pitch dark. We didn't see anybody. Somebody pulled up. I don't know if these guys were at the party earlier or where they had came from, but someone pulled up and got out the car and asked us if we were okay.
Right.
And I believe it was that person who called 911.
Suppose Charlemagne reaches out to you after we do this interview, and he says, hey, I want to give you a settlement, and I want you to recant your story and to call Star a liar. Then what?
Listen, I don't want that man's money. I don't want nothing from him. I just want people to know who he really is. He's a liar. I have been dealing with this for over 15 years. My life has never been the same since that night. My relationships with my family and my friends have suffered because of it. Mentally, I suffer. Emotionally, I suffer. So I don't want nothing from him. I don't want to speak to him, and I don't want to seem angry, but there is still a part of me that's upset because he took something from me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even like him like that. And when I first met him, he expressed that he liked me in that way. But I told him, no, we could just be friends. And that was that. We never, those were not the dynamics of our relationship. We were just friends.
Did he come to your house?
That's it.
Did he come to your house on occasion to pick you up or to hang out at your house and just, relax with you and your family?
He came to my house. He came to my house twice. The first time he came, he met my mom because he was taking me and one of my best friends out for lunch. That was the first time he came and met my mom. And then another time he came to see me, but I wasn't there. And that's when my brother Jamel answered the door and told him I wasn't around. So he came by my house twice. And then, well, actually 3 times. The third time was when he picked me up to go to the beach party.
The beach party.
So he came by my house. My mom knew who he was. My brother knew who he was. We knew each other. We had a friendship, or so I thought.
Right. So now, at that time, and according to court documents, you were 15 years of age. Did you meet Charlemagne when you were 15 or 14?
I met him when I was 15. I met him through someone named Rico. And Rico, he was like a local DJ. He did music as well.
Okay.
And Rico was, I don't know, we went to the radio station. I think it was Z93 radio station where Charlemagne worked at the time. They were just talking about music, and I rode with Rico over there. And that's how I met Charlemagne. I didn't know who he was prior to that. I never heard of him. I didn't know him. I didn't even know how he got my number because he called me a couple days afterwards. So I assumed he got it from Rico.
Okay.
But I know I didn't give it to him.
So now, did you ever tell Charlemagne I'm 15, or did he even ask, or was that never part of the conversation?
Yeah, he knew I was 15. He knew I was still in high school. I told him.
If I can just say this, you have to find resolve within yourself. I don't think that the media, I don't think that anything by way of something that may happen to Charlemagne is going to give you any form of peace of mind. So opening up to others may help you in the long run.
Right. I just want my life back. And even though I have so much going for me, I still feel like sometimes I'm just not all there because of that situation.
Going to be a friend to us. He came to us and said, "Don't worry, nothing's going to happen to her. And I'll make sure that she'll be safe." He eluded us to believe and trust in him. And then he turns around and violates my daughter by raping and drugging her. And then he gets away with it. When I made the decision not for my daughter to testify, I was focused on her well-being, and I wanted the best for her. I didn't want to put her in a stand to relive all of that pain and suffering. If he was suffering. And now, 17 years later, because he continues to make mockery about it, joke and laugh about it, like it doesn't even matter to him, or he has no regrets or anything. Then he tries to cover it up with his money and his high-class attorneys. And now, he's not going to be punished for it. Justice is not fair, and we will not stop fighting. We will fight for justice and closure for my daughter Jessica and this family. According to the detectives, because he negotiated a plea deal, he cannot be prosecuted for the rape charge, suffering.
Okay, so you've just heard the testimony from Charlemagne Tha God. You have just heard the testimony from his alleged victim. You have just heard the testimony from the alleged victim's mother. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and look at the letter that was produced by the prosecutors, right? Solicitors Wilson's statement regarding charges. Many news outlets have contacted my office regarding an incident involving Charlemagne Tha God, which is alleged to have occurred over 17 years ago. Criminal charges against Charlemagne Tha God was resolved in 2002 pursuant to a plea between the state of South Carolina, Charlemagne Tha God. The state allowed Charlemagne Tha God to plead guilty to the contribution of the delinquency of a minor and agreed to dismiss the remaining charge. The plea was negotiated because the alleged victim in the matter did not cooperate with the prosecutors. The prosecutors made this agreement because the victim's absence and the lack of evidence available at the time. While the tools and technology of justice have evolved in cases involving personal violence, the state must have the witnesses to prosecute. Too often, the key witness will not come forward in support of the criminal prosecution. Trying a tough case is no problem. Trying an impossible case is not ethical. South Carolina is clear that once a defendant enters plea negotiations and the plea agreement is accepted by the court, due process requires the state to honor that agreement. We are duty bound to honor the agreement in this case. The state's prosecution has ended and the dismissed charges against Charlemagne Tha God will not be resurrected. The law presumes that Charlemagne Tha God is innocent of the dismissed allegations. So there you have it. You have the police report, you have the indictment, you have the testimony from Charlemagne Tha God, you have the testimony from the alleged victim, you have the testimony from the alleged victim's family, and you have the logic on why the case was actually dismissed, so to speak, why the major charge was dismissed. So now, with all that said, I ask you the questions. Should Charlemagne Tha God be convicted of rape? Should he be pursued for rape charges? Should the Me Too movement go after Charlemagne Tha God? Those are the questions. I would like to hear your answer. Leave your answer below in the comment sections. That's it for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe.